Marcus Semien, wow. Let's discuss his breakout next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Wednesday, June 8th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Chris Towers, and let's talk about Marcus Semien's huge day. Played a doubleheader, 2 games, 7 hits, 3 homers, 2 steals, and he's been much better recently as well. Chris, is there anything actionable? What do we take away from Marcus Semien's massive day?
That he's not quite finished just yet. I think there was some concern about that after the first 2 months of the season, really, maybe month and 3 quarters, but he's been quite good over the last 3 weeks or so. And look, you look under the hood and the underlying numbers are pretty mediocre still, but Marcus Semien's never been a guy who has impressive underlying numbers. He's someone who gets the most out of a fairly limited skill set by making a lot of contact and pulling the ball in the air a lot. And that's what we're seeing lately is he's starting to pull the ball in the air more, hitting the ball a little harder. And so that's what he needs to be successful. Look, he's not going to be a 45 home run guy like he was last season. I'm not even sure he's going to be a 30 home run guy at this pace, even if you pace it out moving forward. But I do think Marcus Semien is going to be someone who, one, scores a lot of runs. He's on a 90-run pace, even with him playing poorly this season. And he's on like a 20-homer, 30-steal pace. And so that's what I think you're going to get is well-rounded production from him that makes him a must-start guy. In all category-based formats, he's a little fringier in head-to-head points, but even there, you're probably starting him moving forward.
Yeah, second base has kind of been a wasteland this year. So many injuries, some underperformance. So now that
your buy low opportunity has probably gone away.
100%. Let's move over to the waiver wire and 2 pitchers that stood out on Tuesday. Edward Cabrera, back-to-back quality starts to open his 2022 season with the Marlins. And Graham Ashcraft now has 3 quality starts in a row of his own. He goes 6 shutout with 4 strikeouts. Both are under 60% rostered. Who would you rather have, Cabrera or Ashcraft?
Ashcraft is sort of interesting. He's got this 98-mile-an-hour cutter that he throws as his primary pitch, throws his sinker as his secondary pitch, but there just isn't enough swing and miss in his profile yet. That's not to say he can't get there with either the cutter or throwing the slider more, but he's not there right now. There are a lot of when he was a prospect, there was a lot of talk about him profiling more as a reliever, so I'm pretty meh on him. I'm very excited about Edward Cabrera, though, because he's looked very good with that changeup. You talk about Ashcraft not having a legit swing and miss pitch. Cabrera has that with that hard slider that he can throw. I mean, we saw him hit 96 with it in his season debut. He's getting strikeouts. He's getting swings and misses. He's got to keep the ball in the yard. He's got to control the ball pretty, better than he did last season, for instance. But I do think there's a lot of potential for Edward Cabrera. He was a guy who was a top 50 prospect at one point. So he is someone that I'm quite excited about, and he's definitely going to be a top 60 starting pitcher moving forward.
Edward Cabrera gave up 1 run in that start against the Nationals, and how did he do that? Luis Garcia, who had 2 hits and hit his first home run in that game, a 442-foot shot. Chris, who would you rather have? Let's say you need a middle infielder, Luis Garcia or Ezequiel Duran, who was recently called up by the Rangers.
I think both are really interesting, and Duran, his base running chops might make him a slightly more interesting option in Roto, but I think I would take my chances on Luis Garcia, who's just been really good since the start of last season. He's had this power breakout since getting to AAA. He's got 21 home runs in 79 games at AAA. And you might chalk that up to just an inflated offensive environment at AAA, which is what we've seen the last couple of seasons. But, when he made it to the majors, he was 20 years old, and he was listed at 6'2", 190 pounds. Now he's listed at 6'2", 212 pounds. He's filled out, and that home run he hit off Edward Cabrera today, 42 foot, like you said, but 113.4 miles per hour at the exit velocity there. That's quite impressive, and that's the hardest hit ball he's hit over 3, partial seasons in the majors. And hard hit, max exit velo is a good proxy for raw power, and so that puts him in like the 88th to 90th percentile range among all major league hitters. That's very good. He's had Luis Garcia has always had the skills. He got called up super young, 20, like I said. He just turned 22, 23 days ago. So I think there's a lot to like in his profile. I'm very excited about him. And he's someone I view as pretty much a must-add player.
In 5 outfielder leagues, Chris, 30 seconds or less, who would you rather have, Oscar Gonzalez or Lane Thomas? Both are hot right now.
Yeah, I think Lane Thomas, I wish he was running more. He's only got the 1 steal on the season. That was what we liked about him coming into the season. Oscar Gonzalez, we've seen him hit the ball very hard early on. He hit the ball very hard in the minors. Not going to walk much, but I do think there's the potential for him to break out and be a very solid power hitter. So I would take Oscar Gonzalez at 14% rostered.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.